So we have now made it to the 20th team in this series, looking at how the season went for the teams in the OHL in 2023-24 and what we can expect going forward into next season. And it's the London Knights who finished the year in dominant fashion, sweeping the Oshawa Generals in the OHL final. And for the London Knights, you knew this team was going all in when they picked up Michael Simpson before the regular season started from the Peterborough Petes. Actually, Michael Simpson becoming the only goaltender in OHL history to win back-to-back championships in opposite conferences. He won it with the Peterborough Petes last year, who are in the Eastern Conference, and now with the London Knights, who are in the West. So Michael Simpson, a trendsetter, so to speak. And really, he was solid between the pipes all year long for the London Knights. Mind you, London, they didn't really get off to the best starts or a dominant start to the 23-24 regular season. In their first 10 games, they had a record of 6-3-0-1. And I know there were some fans who were a little concerned in London about this team. They were a little nervous about the goal scoring and the defense and how is this team going to shape up going forward. But those questions would all be answered as the chemistry, I think, was just developing early on in the regular season, which they showed they could play really any type of game. They were a physical team. They were one of the most penalized teams in the OHL, but that didn't seem to bother them as their penalty kill unit, the best in the league, and also lethal. Denver Barkey, great shorthanded, and also Easton Cowan. So this team, they could play in any way. They also had that next man up mentality if it was an injury or a suspension, because let's face it, this London Knights team, a lot of suspensions during the year. Sawyer Bolton was in the middle of it. He ended the season with 7 suspensions for both regular season and playoffs combined, which says a lot. But still, this London Knights team, it didn't faze them when a player was out of the lineup. The next guy up was ready to go, and we saw that all year long. And this team, you just knew that they wouldn't be pushed around. The London Knights, they also had that 14-game winning streak in the month of December going into January, which then turned into a 22-game point streak because the winning streak was snapped with a shootout loss to Peterborough. And then after that, they were able to keep getting points up until a regulation loss against the Sioux Greyhounds. Easton Cowan also had a fantastic year, a 36-game point streak to wrap up the regular season. That 36-game point streak, a franchise best. And he didn't stop there because he kept getting points going into the playoffs. So if you include the regular season and playoffs, he had a 42-game point streak, which is unreal. As the Toronto Maple Leafs pretty excited about the prospect they have coming out of London. And with the success they had, they only needed to make one trade at the OHL trade deadline. They picked up Caleb Lawrence from the Ottawa 67s. And the only reason why they made that trade is because Ethan McKinnon, it was determined that he wasn't able to play anymore due to injuries. So they wanted to replace McKinnon. I know you can't really replace a player like Ethan McKinnon, but give credit to Caleb Lawrence. He was a beast down the middle in the faceoff circle. At one point, he was leading the team in scoring in the playoffs, or he was top 3 in scoring in the playoffs coming out of the second round. But really, they didn't have to make a lot of moves. Dale Hunter, Mark Hunter, they had the system and they went with it. And this team, they would be the top. They have the best record coming out of the regular season. They won the Hamilton Spectator Trophy. And then in the playoffs, they swept Flint and Kitchener in the first 2 rounds. Needed 6 games to beat Saginaw in the Western Conference Final. And then, of course, sweeping the Oshawa Generals for the OHL Championship, where they put up 31 goals in 4 games. The offense was lethal. Let's look at the top 10 point scorers in the playoffs for London. Easton Cowan led the way, 10 goals, 24 assists, 34 points. Of course, he was the playoff MVP for the London Knights. And then Denver Barkey, second in scoring, 6 goals, 21 assists, good for 27 points. Kasper Halttunen, 17 goals, 9 assists, 26 points. Halttunen, the highest scoring import player in OHL playoff history. So big congrats there to Kasper Halttunen. Max McHugh, 4th in scoring. He had 3 goals, 19 assists, 22 points. Jacob Julian, 9 goals, 9 assists, good for 18 points. Oliver Bonk, a solid defenseman who I don't think we talked a lot about here on the channel. He ended up with 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Ruslan Gazizov, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. Sam Dickinson, 8th in team scoring in the playoffs, 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points. Then there's Sam O'Reilly, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points. And Isaiah George wrapping up the top 10 in points, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points. And in net, Michael Simpson, he was solid. He had a record of 15-2 in the postseason. a 2.59 goals against average and a 908 save percentage. And remember, he was the runner-up in goaltender of the year, right behind Oshawa's Jacob Oster. And then Owen Wilmore, he had a 1-0 record in the playoffs for London, 0.87 goals against average and a 966 save percentage. But he was the one that was in net for that double overtime win over the Oshawa Generals. So that's why his numbers look exceptional. But still, Owen Wilmore, he did great when counted upon during the regular season. So you have to give credit to him where credit is due. Now, the graduating overagers for London will include Caleb Lawrence, Max McHugh, and Michael Simpson. So Simpson, a big piece to this London Knights puzzle. That's going to be a question mark going into next year. But then you look at the overage candidates for the London Knights. It includes Jacob Julian for next season, along with Sawyer Bolton, Ruslan Gazizov, who of course is an import, Landon Sim, a St. Louis Blues prospect, Isaiah George, a New York Islanders prospect, Alec Leonard, Jackson Edward, who's a Boston Bruins prospect, and then Owen Wilmore. He'll be an overage candidate for next season. So there's a very good chance this London Knights team will challenge for top spot in the Western Conference again next season, especially with all the depth this team has. Sam Dickinson, of course, expected to go top 10 at the NHL draft next month. And then you also have Easton Cowan. Does he come back next season, or do the Toronto Maple Leafs look to keep him up? Then there's also Oliver Bonk, Denver Barkey. They're both eligible to go to the NHL next season. Do they come back? And another big question, do the London Knights look to add a new goaltender to fill in for Michael Simpson, or do they think Wilmore is ready to be a starter in the OHL? Because if they can get some great goaltending there from Wilmore, and if everybody comes back, this team is definitely a favorite to win the Midwest Division. I think they're going to have some challenge there with the Erie Otters. I think they're going to be a team that could surprise some in the Western Conference, but the London Knights, a solid roster. Expect them to do some additions between now and the regular season. They'll want to address the overage situation as they have a few options there, but still, the London Knights, they do find a way to compete year in and year out, and next season looks to be no different. So that's how I see it from the booth. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on the London Knights going into next season. And of course, they are preparing for the Memorial Cup, which gets underway on Friday, May 24th, I believe it is, or May 25th, whatever. It's the following weekend. So the London Knights going up against Saginaw, Drummondville, and Moose Jaw there. So we'll see what happens. And I will follow along the Memorial Cup, and maybe we'll post a video or two as the tournament progresses. So again, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon.